Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. My guest today is DJ Stutz. DJ is an author and a parenting coach to Imperfect Heroes. That's what she calls the parents she works with because that's what we are. We are all imperfect heroes. She talked about different parenting styles and how to handle certain situations. We laughed. There's so many things that I could relate to that she was sharing, even though my kids are grown. And she had some great advice for parents. I encourage you, after you listen to this conversation, share it with someone that you know it would be beneficial to, and check out her books because her books sound amazing. Thank you for being
DJ,
here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I have said so many times that parenting, I think, is one of the hardest but most rewarding things anybody can ever do. And it's, being a parent, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do was be a mom. And I'm so thankful that I've been able to do it. And I love when I was reading your information, you said that you are a parenting coach to imperfect heroes. And that's what parents are. They are imperfect heroes for sure. And you teach parents how to find the joy in parenting. How did you get into this work? What led you to want to do this?
It's interesting. God just puts you in places where things just move along. And I think in the end, hopefully, you end up where He wants you to be. But I am the oldest of seven.
Mhm.
I was a big sister at 14 months. I was 17 when my youngest brother was born. So,
Wow.
you're involved in parenting those kids.
Sure.
Like it or not, that's just part of the joy of being an oldest. And then I have 5 kids of my own. I have 13 grandchildren. I have 70 nieces and nephews.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, because I'm the oldest of 7 and my husband's the
Yeah.
youngest of 9.
Oh
So,
my
when you put those kind of
goodness.
families together,
Families.
it gets big and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then and it's funny that, you say you wanted to be a mom because that was my career choice
Yeah.
in high school, and I'm in Los Angeles growing up, going to high school, and you have the career counselors, and what do you wanna be? And I would say, "A mom." And they'd try to, "Well, now, maybe something more meaningful," or what. No, there's nothing more meaningful. I knew
Right.
that at a young age. And so, I just kinda started college and got married and wound up raising kids, and that was my love of life. I just loved doing that. And, so then once my kids they were in school and stuff, I went back to college and finished getting my teaching degree in early childhood education. And, we've been foster parents. Our
Oh,
youngest, we adopted out of foster care. She was 12. She likes to tell people she was 12 years overdue because that's how old she was
that's awesome.
when we got her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's great. So anyway, and then through all of that, I was a parenting facilitator in Clark County, Nevada. That's where Nevada, that lower point is. And I was certified in 4 different parenting programs, and I did workshops in, churches and schools and libraries, all those places.
Yeah.
But then I also had the opportunity to get additional certification and teach parenting classes in 2 women's prisons. Um,
Wow.
which was a spiritual epiphany for me, I will tell you
Mm.
that, and God testified to me how important these women are to Him.
Yeah.
And then I also taught in, some homeless shelters, so women's shelters, there was a family shelter, so I got to do those things. And then, uh, in teaching, I taught kindergarten for many, many years, and I taught all for all but 2 years, I taught in the lowest income, school in the district. Most of my kids came from children of gang parents,
Yeah.
and, every year, at least half of them had incarcerated family.
Mhm.
There was a homeless shelter that was in our zone, and again, I learned so many lessons from that, God putting these lessons into my life. And then when COVID hit, I was kinda already telling, like, parents would come to me, "How do I help Johnny? How do I help Susie?" You know, "Why is Jake a monster?" "Well, because you called him a monster and he believes you." But what, talk about a message to kids. But,
Right.
and so then, we're try to teach kindergarten online, that's the fun thing. And then I'd have parents, and that's where the official thing started and Imperfect Heroes started was parents asking me questions now that they have their kids all day with them. What do I do? You know?
Yeah.
How do I make this work? And that's where it all kind of started. And so then I started my podcast, Imperfect Heroes.
Yes.
Um, and we've got a little over 200 episodes.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, yeah. And then I started writing, let me see, point to the right there, books. And so I know, it's hard to know. And so, yeah, I have 3 books that are out, and a 4th one is almost done. We're with the illustrator right now. And they're just all about, like, teaching values and helping parents have tools, there's lesson plans in the back, all of that. So that's a long story, I guess, but that's where I came from.
Yeah. What have you found as you have worked with parents for a while?
Yeah.
What is a common question that they have, when they need help?
There are a few. Sometimes I'll get parents who will call or email me and say, "I need you to fix my kid."
As if it was that simple.
We can talk about that.
Right.
You
Right.
know? And because the reality is the greatest bulk of the work is the parents,
Yeah.
and helping them understand how kids learn, how their brains develop, how they grow socially. And
Mm.
there is a typical pattern. And not everyone is on the same timeline
Right.
as other kids. And so, what is typical for a 4-year-old behavior may be occurring in a 3-year-old, maybe occurring in a 7-year-old, but
Yeah.
that's just where they are in their development.
Yeah.
And so helping parents kind of let go of this idea of what should be. My child should be doing this, this, and this. Okay, well, we'll get there eventually, but until we really evaluate what is, where your child
Right.
is right now, and then what are the next steps that we can take, and helping them on their own journey of where they are as a parent. What
Yeah.
knowledge do they have? And, what backgrounds do they have? What are the triggers that they're trying to get over and their own childhood experience and all of this and helping them understand that and say, okay, because we all want to be this perfect parent, right?
Right.
And if you're a believer, I'll tell you, Mary and Joseph were mortal.
Right.
And if you look in the New Testament, there's a list of boys.
Right.
Jesus' brothers, right? And I'm thinking, oh, I'm sure they had a day or two here and there, you
Right.
know. And so we're all just waiting. So if we can understand that that perfection thing isn't we don't get there.
Right.
But the hero part is when are curious and we want to know and we want to learn more and we're willing to evaluate ourselves and say, "Oh, I could have handled that better." And what can I do to set things up so that it goes more smoothly next time?
Right.
That's the hero part.
Absolutely. I worked in a school for 5 years, and I would get frustrated with some of these kids, and I would think, "Why? Why are you acting like this?" And then I would meet the parents. Oh, that's why. But these patterns are just passed down until somebody fixes them, until you learn and you change. Like you said, "Okay, I can do this better next time." They just keep getting passed down, and it's so sad. It's so sad to see, but I think it's so important what you're doing. What maybe is an encouragement you could give a mom or dad who's really trying? They really are
Yeah,
trying their best, but they're feeling defeated in what they're
right.
doing.
Well, and so I think we want to really look at why are you feeling defeated? Is it because you're comparing yourself to your brother has these kids that are all on the honor roll and they're all the star of their basketball team or their whatever, and your kid's struggling in reading or is struggling with math or maybe has some sensory issues or whatever. And so then when you're comparing, maybe that's why you're feeling defeated. Maybe you're feeling defeated because you are so overextended that you are just exhausted
Yeah.
and you're so wiped out that you just don't have the energy or the whatever. Maybe it's because you have this ideal in your head of what you want to be and you know you're not there.
Yeah.
And so, well, let's see what knowledge are you lacking and let's give you some of that knowledge and let you see the improvements that are going to happen. So I think when you're feeling defeated, let's get at the core of
Yeah.
why that feeling is there because it's different for everyone.
Yeah, it is. In my own story, one of my greatest regrets is in my as my kids were growing up, I was in survival mode for so long that I'm like, I feel like I missed stuff and I don't remember there's things I don't remember and I wish I could have been more present for them than I was. And so anytime they have a positive memory from their childhood, I'm so happy. I'm like, okay, good. You have at least one. That's good.
Write that down so you can
Please.
present it to them.
Yes, please. But I know it's hard. It's hard when you, as a parent, are hurting or
Mhm.
suffering or trying to deal with things. It's hard, and you do beat yourself up, I think, a lot of times. I know communication is so important with our kids. What is a way that parents can improve their communication with their kids? Like even just one step, something they could do
Yeah.
different to improve that.
One of the most common communication issues that I have parents come to me and talk to me about is I'm always yelling at my kids. Why am I always yelling at my kids? Well, and the simple answer, and I guess it's kind of rude, but it's there. It's because you taught them that you need to yell at them before they take you seriously.
Right.
And so I remember being a little girl, my dad was getting his doctorate at Cal State Berkeley, and we were living in Oakland, my grams came to visit us. Back then, parents would you go to the grocery store, you drop your kid off where the little toy aisle is,
Right.
and then you go do your shopping,
Yeah.
leave your child there, but that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And then we were playing, and then the toy aisle was where you were in view of the, um, checkers, the
Mhm.
checkouts. And so I'm playing, and I wasn't in kindergarten yet, so I had to be about 4, and, my grams was there, and my mom said, "Okay, Deej, let's go." And I ignored her. I'm just playing, playing. "DJ, come on, we're going." Ignore, ignore. Finally, my grams comes over and she's like, "Debbie Jean," that's the DJ,
Hi.
"your mother is calling you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not her mad voice yet."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's a big story. My grams told me that
Yeah.
many times. But so when we are talking to our kids and we start yelling, I think just the simple act of recognizing that you're yelling. That was the
Yes.
first big thing for me. I grew up in a yelling home and
Yeah.
it was a loving home. It was great. Lots of yelling. My mom was raised by lumberjacks, literally. Lots of yelling.
Right.
So and sometimes I'll be talking to my kid and I realize, wait a minute, I'm yelling. When did I start yelling? You don't even know when you started. Your voice just naturally starts raising. And so if you can just stop at the second you realize that you're yelling
Yeah.
and take a step back and say, "Ooh, hang on, I'm yelling. I don't want to yell. Let me just take a breath. All right. I want to talk with you. I don't want to yell at you." And when your kids see you going through that process, it changes. Now, is that gonna change overnight? No, it's almost like
Right.
quitting smoking or anything. Stop cussing. That's a hard thing to do because your mouth keeps working, right? And so, just as you get in the habit of recognizing, "Wait, I'm yelling. Let's stop." And your kids see you going through that, and they're going through it with you, they're learning skills as well. So it's
Yeah.
a it that's a it takes time,
Right.
but it is a great place to start with
Yeah.
communication.
That is a really crazy story, like, for you to notice that at that young of an age, like, that's amazing, but it's so true. It's so true. I
And
think
kids do
discipline
notice these things at a very young age. They
do.
get you figured out. 2 and
Yeah.
3 years old, they know what buttons to push. They are
Absolutely.
smart. Yeah.
Absolutely. Discipline, I guess, is kind of along that same line, how can parents discipline without just punishing? How can they teach in their
Yeah.
discipline when they're used to yelling or they're used to,
Right.
the
Right.
chaos?
Well, and as I see, it seems like we have this pendulum thing going on where parents are either too strict or yelling or they don't say anything until it's the last straw and then they lose it. And and the last straw may have been something very minor compared to what they've been sitting on. And then there's the other side where kids are just kind of in charge. It's like, I want to do
Yeah.
this. Okay, let's go. And then they get really mad when they don't get their way and the parents give in. Oh, they're mad or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we have this kind of pendulum thing. And the reality is there is a balance in the middle that is wonderful. You need to have boundaries. Kids need to know what the rules are and what the consequences are because that gives them safety. I know what to expect.
Right.
I know if I do this, this is next. And it's just very logical. And if you present it in that logical, we talk about it ahead of time. I love weekly family meetings. I am big on that, especially when the kids are younger, but even as they're older, you're organizing your calendar for the week. You're
Right.
talking about, okay, what have we got coming up? Or grandma and grandpa are coming to visit. And what do we need to do to get ready? But also it's a great time and kids, little guys, they love to role play.
Mm.
Give them daddy's jacket or shoes or mommy's shoes or whatever, and let them role play being the parent and you're the one. And so now we're practicing. How do I respond to mom? And how do I respond to my sibling when she took my shirt
Yeah.
and didn't ask for permission? How do I respond to that? And you can do that role playing and talk about that when everyone's calm,
Yeah.
right? Because when everyone's hyped up and angry, they're not learning anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's learning anything. And when we come in yelling because 'cause they're yelling, we're just adding to the noise,
Right.
right? And so but then when we do have issues beyond that, um, and we say, "Okay, I can see you are mad, or you're having the temper tantrum in the Cocoa Puff by the aisle by the Cocoa Puffs, right? You want the Cocoa Puffs. I'm not getting you Cocoa Puffs." And they're having the temper tantrum. Well, I can see you're upset about the Cocoa Puffs. So now kids like choices and that's not a bad thing. So you can be here where everyone's gonna watch you and throw your temper tantrum. I'm fine with that. That's one of my favorite terms as a parent. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then or we can go out to the car and so no one's looking at you, but you can have some time to calm down, you know? Or I have some more shopping to do.
Right.
Right? And so, I'm not saying leave them, but maybe go
Right.
further down the aisle, pretend you're getting, you can pretend you've got an eye on them. But now, because sometimes that focus of attention on them is overwhelming, it adds to the
Yeah.
overwhelm. So know your child well enough to know what and I have 5 kids. I have 5 very different personalities, trust me,
Right.
right? And so we so you're reacting in a way that is purposeful, this gentle parenting or whatever. I'd rather do purposeful parenting where
Absolutely.
you have a plan. But I'm not getting mad. I'm not going
Yeah.
crazy. And if I have to pick you up and take you out and you're screaming, okay, well, but that's okay, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but you just say, yeah, we're not doing that. So
Yeah.
when you calm down, and I'm happy to wait with you till you calm down, but when you calm down, we can talk about what our options are. First, though, we need to help you and help your body because you're not feeling good right now. And
Right.
even talking to them when you're calm, when they're calm, and saying, when you get really upset like that, how does your body feel? Is
Yeah.
that does that feel good? Can we find a way that maybe helps you feel better when you're really upset? And so it's a conversation, having those talks, but then knowing what your values are, what your morals are, what are the ethics you want to pass on to your
Right.
kids. And for you, it might be different than it is for me, right?
Sure.
So being able to identify what or yours, you know, are, and then talking to them, um, and moving forward with that, but you're calm.
Yeah.
And in fact, one year when I was teaching, um, because I would get quieter as the kids would get more noisy or whatever, and I would get quieter. And I had one little girl, I'll never forget her. I can see her in my face. I love this girl. But so I was trying to get everyone to come to the carpet, and they didn't want to finish with their thing. So I'd say, come to the carpet, carpet, carpet. You do your thing. And they would come, and there were still some kids. And I would get quieter, quieter. And one of the little girls shouted, "Guys, she's whispering. She's really mad."
That's funny.
Yeah.
But that's what you do. That's good. They knew. They knew how to
They
do
knew.
it. One of the things that we hear in everywhere is about anxiety, and I was diagnosed with
Mhm.
anxiety, and I have so much anxiety, and everybody has anxiety. When we were growing up, it wasn't a diagnosis. You were anxious or you were worried, and now it's such a big thing. How can we teach our kids how to manage these big emotions, that they're feeling? Because they are. Everybody's feeling big things. How can
Mhm.
we teach them how to manage those well?
Well, I think one of the main things is goes back to what I was saying before is letting our kids see us manage it. So like, "Oh, I'm yelling. Why? I gotta stop that. I gotta take a breath." Or even saying, "Wow, whoo, I need to take a breath. I'm feeling really anxious right now. I got this," and let them so verbalize it so that they can see what you're doing. You're setting that example
Yeah.
and they're watching it. Another thing is understanding maybe things that help them. Some kids, most kids, I will say, like to be touched when they're super anxious, like just a rub on the back, right?
Yeah.
A hug, a squeezing their hands. In fact, gosh, I think all five of my kids, they would come. I knew they were anxious. They'd come and sit by me on the couch or something and just plot their hand on my lap. And and I would just massage their hand, and you could just see them kind of and so now, you can massage your own hand if
Right.
I'm not here. I love doing it for you,
Yeah.
but I might not be here all the time with you. So you can, and start giving them some of those tools. And instead of like, I know there's some like, oh, that's not a big deal. Get over it, right? Which is really how I feel sometimes. But Susie said she doesn't like me anymore, or whatever, and they get all frustrated. Or it can be test anxiety, or I mean, there's a lot of things. And so just instead of telling them to get over it, talk to them about, well, how does your body feel?
Yeah.
When you're experiencing this, like, what parts of your body? I tend to hold my attention in my shoulders, and my shoulders
Mhm.
will get really sore. And other kids, it's their stomach. I can have a stomach ache. And so talk to them about, well, what does it feel like right now? Like, what part hurts? Or I
Yeah.
can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's like, okay, I understand. That's really scary, isn't it? You know? And so if you're validating it in a way that you're not minimizing it, but then you're telling them, we can work through this. This
Yeah.
is okay. We can work through this and helping them and you not panicking. Oh, you can't breathe. Oh, because sometimes I see parents, when you see a little kid at the park and they fall down,
Yes.
the first thing they do is look up to mom or dad to see mom or dad's reaction.
Right.
And if mom comes rushing over or dad comes rush, then they start crying,
Yeah.
right? Well, it's the same thing with anxiety.
Yeah.
And so when they see, oh, um, you know, mom seems really upset that this must be a really big thing. And
Yeah.
so it kind of builds on that. Again, all of these things are things that are going to take time
Right.
and practice,
Yeah.
and working through it. It's nothing that we can fix. I can't fix a kid with one session or, even a month.
Right.
It takes time and support but we can work on it and see great progress.
Yeah.
And then saying, "You did it. Look at you. You're amazing."
Right. We have to, as parents, we have to have grace on ourselves because we're not going to figure, like you said, we're not going to figure it out overnight. It's not going to get
Mhm.
changed completely that fast. I would love for it to, but it doesn't always work like that. I
Yeah.
I could talk to you about parenting all day long because I think, like I said, being a parent is the most wonderful thing in the world. And now I'm a grandparent, which I only have 2 grandchildren, but they are the most
2 is
sweet
good.
creatures ever. I think we can do more for them because we only have 2,
Yeah.
but they're just so wonderful. So I love what you're doing. I think it's so important. But I wanna talk to you about your books. Tell me about your books and what are they
Yeah.
about and why did you write them?
Oh, thank you. So I have 3 books out. There's 2 that are I call it the Roman series. They're about a little boy named Roman, and the first one is Roman is Bigger,
Mm.
and, Roman so when I got kids coming in kindergarten, they kinda could identify basic emotions. I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm scared,
Right.
you know, but really there's way more, beyond that. Maybe you're mad or you're furious, I'm scared or I'm terrified, and so
Yeah.
Roman is bigger. He has bigger feelings than that. So he's got this Great Dane dog named Harley, and they go on these adventures together. And he is worried, and he is brave, and he is all of these other things. And it's about vocabulary and learning first how to identify what I'm feeling, and then being able to use that language to let others understand how I'm feeling because I'm gonna respond very differently to someone who says I'm scared than to someone
Right.
who comes and says I'm terrified,
Yeah.
right? And so anyway, there's a lesson plan at the back of the book and a way to help build your kids' vocabulary. Then the next one is Roman is a bigger brother, kind of self-explanatory there.
Yeah.
And he finds out there's a baby coming, and he's got one friend that's babies are wonderful, and another friend, babies are horrible. And he's confused. Is this good? Is this the baby comes and he has all of and now he's a big brother, and there are responsibilities you don't ask for, but that you get as an oldest child. And so he's learning about those as well. And anyway, it's just a fun book. Again, lesson plan in the back, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I have a fourth book that's coming out, and that's another Roman book as well. And so Roman's little brother's named Nico, and they want to be superheroes, and they realize you don't have to have a cape and be able to fly to be a superhero. You just have to do service. And so they learn about looking for opportunities to serve the others that are around them. And so that's the next one
awesome.
coming out. Thank you.
That-
And the last book, Oscar's True Friends, is just it's just about the value of um knowing who you are and your individuality, and then helping others come to value who they are.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't have to be the same. We don't want everyone to be the same. And it's important that we all have differences to make our community and our school and whatever work
Yeah.
better. So that's Oscar's True Friends.
That's awesome. I love that. Can people get these books on Amazon, or are they just on your
Anywhere you buy
Anywhere you
books
buy-
online,
Okay.
anywhere you buy books online, it's there.
So,
Great.
one more question before I leave. What is something a parent could do to make a change in their family today? We said it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be a quick fix. What's one thing they could do today to have a good impact on their family?
Um, of course, anything is going to be really simplified.
Yeah.
But to start, at the end of my podcast, I always end it with let's find joy in parenting. And I think that if you can, even in the hard times, take a step back and find something good in the moment.
Yeah.
So I have a niece who had a daughter. Unfortunately, she's passed, but severely, severely impacted with cerebral palsy, couldn't speak,
Yeah.
like didn't recognize anyone beyond mom and dad, the whole thing. And she was telling me that she was talking to a friend who was complaining because her kids were fighting all the time. Fighting all the time. And my niece said, at least they're healthy enough to fight,
Yeah.
because her daughter couldn't even do that.
Mm.
So, I mean, even sometimes you need to break it down to the bare basics of something like that. Okay, they're healthy enough to fight. They've got muscle mass, they can punch. It's great.
Right.
But so getting over all the hard part and seeing the joy in the moment,
Yeah.
the great things to be grateful for in the moment. And really, for me, that's what got me turned around in my life.
Yeah. It's so good. And as hard as things are, we can always find one thing, just one thing even, to be thankful for. This has been so wonderful. I could talk to you all day. Like, this is just been great.
I enjoy doing this.
Yes. Thank you for being a guest.
You're welcome. I really appreciate it.
We'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
You bet.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.